Hi, welcome to my video on the surface area of a sphere. Surface area of a sphere. Well, let me show you a few examples of a surface. A sphere is what we say a ball. And what I have here is a baseball, used a bit, but it represents a sphere. It's a round object that's shape of a ball. And another object that represents a sphere could be an orange, almost completely round, not quite. Or we could have an apple as a sphere. And a really good example of a sphere would be the Earth. So let's explain. The sphere is a ball. The center O of the sphere is the same distance from any point on the surface of the sphere. So what we have is that if this is the center and A is a point, then this distance AO is the radius of the sphere. And the radius we always denote by the letter R. So if we have a segment drawn from O to B, then that's also the radius of a sphere. Or O to C is a radius. Or if we call that D there, then that's O to D is the radius of a sphere. And notice this is three-dimensional. It's hard to draw. This is a circle, and the dotted lines are indicating that's on the back, and this is on the back. So we have many circles that can be on this, with O at the center. So can you imagine standing at the center of a sphere, right there, and looking at any point? So you can look at any point out here, and if that point is right there, we call it whatever you want to call it, T, then that distance, all these distance from the center to any point on the surface of the sphere is the radius, and they're equal. And the diameter is the distance from one side to the other, joining up the two radii in a straight line. And let's move on. The surface area of a sphere is 4 times the area of a circle. So it's 4 times the area of a circle. That's the surface area of a sphere. It's 4 pi r squared is the formula. How that's derived? Well, you need way more. You need more math in your background, and this is way in the higher grades of calculus. But let's go on and work out some problems for the surface area of a sphere. Find the surface area of a sphere to the nearest tenth. Here's some examples that I'll do for you, and then you can try some yourself. We have a sphere here, and we have a circle, and the dotted area indicates 3 dimensions. So if OA is 10, so that means the radius of the sphere is 10. So if we have the radius of the sphere, the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. 4 times the area of a circle. So it's 4 times 3.14 times 10 squared. And so that's 100. So it's 400 times 3.14. And so that works out to be 1256. And it's area, so it's square inches, and it works out perfect. If the diameter of a sphere is 6.2, then the radius is half of that, which is 3.1 centimeter. So the surface area of a sphere is very easy. It's 4 pi r squared. 4 times the area of a circle. 3.14, and the radius is 3.1 squared. So take your calculator and multiply 4 by 3.14 times 3.1 squared, and that will work out to be 1207016. And again, it's square centimeters, but we got to round it to the nearest tenth, so it's 120. That 7 is in the tens place, so the digit to the right, so they all become zeros. This digit is less than 5, so we do not change the 7. So to the nearest tenth is 120.7 square centimeters. And practice means pause the video and work these out to see if you get the right answer. So the radius is R is 9.7. So the surface area of a sphere is 4 times the area of a circle. That's how I memorize it. And it's 4 times 3.14 times 9.4 squared. That's a 4. And it's millimeters. So work that out with a calculator and we get 1109.8016. That's your display. And we round that to 1109, and 8 is in the 10th place. This digit here is less than 5, so we don't change the 8. So, and that's millimeters squared as in area. That's the approximate surface area. Pause the video again and work this one out. We have dA is the distance going through O as the center, so that's the diameter. So that means the radius is 4 feet. And the surface area is 4 times the area of a circle. So that's 4 times 3.14. And the radius is 4, so it's 4 squared. So that's 16 times 464, so 3.14 times 64, or plug it on your calculator, and you'll get 200.96. And to the nearest tenth, the 9, that becomes a 0. We add 1 to the, because that's 5 or greater, we add 1 to the 9, that gives me a 0. So that gives me a 201. And it's in feet, so it's square feet is closest to the nearest tenth. Let's continue. What about the surface area of a hemisphere? A hemisphere, it depends on, some people say, how come we don't call it why do you call it H-E-M-I, not a C-E-M-I, semi? Well, it all depends on the Greek language and which language you want to use, but most people call it a hemisphere. What I have here now is an object that's representing a hemisphere. Like, let's pretend that this was completely sphere and we cut it in half. So notice, if we cut it in half, we could take the middle of this right here to be the center of the sphere, but now it's the center of the hemisphere. So the radius is still the same from the center over to the end, over to a point on the circumference. That's the radius. And if you think about it, it's a globe, a dome, like a baseball dome or a dome over a football stadium. So that's what we're talking about. A hemisphere is a half a sphere. So this is the diagram I drew representing the top, and the broken line represents the back part that we can't see. I did this to indicate the 3 dimensions. O is the center, OR is the radius. Radius is right there. The surface area of a hemisphere is half the surface area of a sphere. So the surface area is half the area of a sphere. And we know the area of a sphere is 4 times the area of a circle. So a half of 4 is 2. So it's 2 pi r. Instead of 4 pi r, is 2 pi r. Okay, find the surface area of a sphere. Let's work some examples out to the nearest 10. So the radius is 6, so that means r is 6. So the surface area of a sphere is half, the surface area of a hemisphere is half a sphere, so it's 2 pi r. So it's 2 times 3.14, and the radius is 6, so it's 6. Radius is 6, so 6 squared. Work that out with a calculator, and you get 226.08, and that's centimeters, so that's going to be square centimeters. But we got to round it to the nearest tenth, so it's 226. 0 is in the tenth place because this digit is more than 5 or more, we add 1 to the 0. So it's 226.1 square centimeters to the nearest tenth. Practice. Practice means pause the video and work these out. Here we go. The radius is 4, so r is 4. So the surface area of a hemisphere is half a sphere. So the surface area is 2 pi r squared. Remember, the area of the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. To keep, so a hemisphere is half of that, is 2. So it's 2 times 3.14 times 4 squared. Put that in your calculator and work it out, and you get 100.48. And it's in inches, so it's square inches, but we got to round it to the nearest tenth. So it's 100, and that's a 0. So this 4 is in the tenth place, so this digit to the right is 5 or greater, so we add 1 to 4 to make it a 5. So to the nearest tenth is 100.5 inches squared. And number 2, pause the video and work this one out. We got a hemisphere again, half a sphere, and AB is the diameter. So we have the diameter is 5.8 all the way across going to the center. That means the radius is half of that, and the radius is 2.9 and is in meters. So it's 5.8 meters to 2.9. So the surface area of a hemisphere is 2 pi r squared. Half a sphere, 2 times 3.14, and it's a 2.9 squared, put in brackets, and you work that out on your calculator and you get 52.8148. This comes up on my calculator. We run around it to the nearest tenth, it says, so it's 5.2. 8 is in the tenth place, but all these digits to the right become 0. This digit is less than 5, so we do not change the 8, so it's 52.8, and it's meters, so it's meters squared. Meters squared is area. So 52.8 meters squared is the approximate area of that hemisphere. And let's continue. Practice. We got to work this one out. Number 3. Find the diameter of the hemisphere if its surface area is 157. Now we're reversing it. So to get the diameter, we need to get the radius. We got the surface area of a hemisphere. So we know the surface area of a hemisphere is 2 pi r squared. A sphere is 4 pi r squared, so it's half of that. So that means if my surface area, SA, is given as 157 millimeters, so I put 157 in the place of surface area. 2 pi is 3.14 approximately, and we're looking for r squared, we're looking for r. We multiply that out, we get 157. We multiply 2 times 3.14, 6.28 r squared. Because this is multiplication, the opposite is dividing. So divide by 6.28 on each side. And they cancel out, become 1, so it's an r squared. And 157 divided by 6.28 comes out to be a 25 approximately. So r is the square root of 25. So r is equal to 5. And it says we want to find the diameter. The diameter, we know that the diameter is twice the radius, so the diameter is 10. And the unit is millimeters. So the answer to this problem is 10. So that takes us through working out the surface area of a sphere, and a hemisphere is half of that. And remember, the formula for a surface area of a sphere is 4 times the area of a circle, 4 pi r squared. So a hemisphere is 2 pi r squared. If you like my video, click the like button and the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be a subscriber. And if you are a subscriber, write a comment on my video. And visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com. There you'll see sections on me, and you'll see section on the videos explaining the teaching strategies you're going to use to help learn your math. And most important, we have the content that I have on my YouTube channel. The black font is what's there already, and the red font is what I will be doing in the near future. I thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.